I would like to call a special commission meeting to order for Tuesday, not April, but July 17th, 2012. If you do have a cell phone, either please turn it off or put it on vibrate so you don't. Part of this process, it's an interview process and discussion to appoint a person to fill the vacant commission seat of Richard Gonzalez, and they will be serving to April the 15th, 2015. How I'd like to handle this is I would like to take each individual candidate one by one. I ask that the other candidates sit outside and wait. We want to interview each one of you privately with the public here, but we don't want the other candidates to hear what they're saying or what our questions are. After we do that, we'll invite you all back in, and we will try to make a decision on who we think would be the best. So if you would all leave. The first person is going to be on my list is Jim Faulkner. So Jim, you can stay here. You can sit down there, but if the other three of you would please wait outside, and we'll send somebody out to get you. Sam, would you close that door for us, pretty please? Good afternoon, Jim.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
Like I mentioned, what we're going to do is we're going to start off, and we'll let you introduce yourself. If you have anything you would like to say, as if you've already written something that you would like to talk about, that's fine. Then after that, what we would like to do then is ask you some questions, and we'll do a question and answer at the end.
All right.
Okay?
Well, again, for the record, my name is Jim Faulkner. I live at 1014 West 3rd Street. I was born and raised here in Coffeyville, actually third generation, and following stint in the Navy and then in healthcare management, we came back to Coffeyville, as the sign says, because both my wife and I still deeply believe in this community. And we are becoming more involved in different organizations as time goes on. One thing that I believe I probably admitted, and it was an error from both the application and my resume, I am a graduate of Leadership Coffeyville. So just wanted to add that as a little footnote. One of the things that I thought about was how would I conduct myself if selected to be a commissioner. And I got to thinking about that, and from my perspective, I would function as a member, what would amount to a board of directors, and I believe the commission should, it's my feeling anyway, should act in that capacity, providing strategic direction, not daily operational guidance, but strategic direction to the city manager, ask hard questions, and then hold the city manager accountable for the execution of programs and budgets. And also, since the budget cycle is coming up, I do completely understand the relationships and the difference between authorization and appropriation. And simply because a particular project or line item has been approved for expenditure, I also realize that you can't just go out and spend it, because you have to have the revenue to do it first, and that amounts to the appropriation. The appropriation of the funds that says go ahead and execute that project. I have no private personal agenda. I have no axis to grind here in Coffeyville. And aside from that, I kind of hesitate to say this. I think I'd mentioned it to someone before, but what I wouldn't say, I think I mentioned it before, to say all I want is what's best for Coffeyville. To my way of thinking, that's almost like Miss America saying all she wants is world peace. What your job is, and I appreciate the fact that it's a difficult one, is to evaluate the expertise, the tools that each of the candidates brings to the table in order to maximize the efforts of the commission in doing just that. It's not a matter of saying and hoping, but it's a matter of being able to do it. So, having said that, what questions do you have for me?
No?
I was a little bit surprised when I was reading your resume. I mean, I've known you for a few years, but I just went through this resume that you gave us, and you have an MBA and a bachelor's in journalism.
Yes. The BA was, it's a BS, Bachelor of Science
Right.
degree from KU in journalism with a major in advertising. And my MBA was with an emphasis in both marketing and finance.
I'm blown away by I mean, you've got military experience, you have you have 2 degrees. Your work history indicates to me that, I mean, you're the real deal.
Well, thank you. We joke about the fact God decided I needed balance in my life, and by that, according to my resume there, of course, if you see my first half of my working career was in the Navy,
Yes.
and as a naval aviator, kind of, it might be inappropriate, but that was a position where I was in a male-dominated industry whose mission was killing large numbers of people efficiently.
Yeah.
But having completed that portion of my life, God then decided I needed balance, so he swung me over to a female-dominated industry whose mission was keeping people alive, and that's why I spent the next 17 years in healthcare management.
Can you explain to me how what you learned in the military helped you in the second phase of your work career, your work life?
Well, the first half, I think, can be boiled down to the organization and the mission, because within a military organization, as you can probably assume, you cannot necessarily count on the fact that the guy sitting to the left of you or the right of you is going to be there tomorrow for one reason or another. So your dedication and your focus becomes one of what is the mission of the organization, and your allegiance becomes one of allegiance to the group, allegiance to the organization, not an individual. Because if you assign specific allegiance to an individual and that person all of a sudden is no longer there, then you find yourself in a vacuum. There's a vacuum that's created. But so long as it's mission-oriented, organizationally oriented, then the group can carry forward. And that stood me well in the second half, but in the second half of that working career, I then suddenly decided that I discovered rather rapidly that I had to change my mentality, because working in a male-dominated industry where one was used to both giving and receiving orders and executing them and expecting them to be executed without question, stepping into a female-dominated industry in the healthcare world, that didn't work at all. That didn't work at all. So it became one of immediately understanding the need to become sensitive to, literally, to the feelings and the needs of the individuals within an organization, and then trying to decipher each group within that organization, because there are no cookie-cutter personalities. We're all from different, even in this room, we're from different generations. You've got
The really old people?
the really old people, the greatest generation, I'll say. We've got the silent generation, we've got the baby boomers, and the baby boomers are on fire. I mean, baby boomers are going to change the planet. And within that group, there's both liberals and conservatives, left and right, and each one of them is on fire and going to change the planet. So those are the baby boomers. And then you've got Generation X, and then the millennial generation, who probably relates more back to the greatest generation. So it's a matter of being able to identify, understand where those people come from, and then being able to pull those individuals together into a cohesive group in order to make the organization work.
You know, basically, our role up here is to set policy, and we each come to the table with our own ideas of how things should be run, but none of us can micromanage anything. We have to do it as a group. We can't go out and meet with people and do things on our own. So we all work together up here, and one of the things that is important to me is that we all attend the meetings. Is this going to interfere in any way or form with your own personal agenda? You know, your,
Not an issue.
okay, because I know I cancel, this is time consuming. I mean, I'm not complaining, I love every minute of this, but it is time consuming, and I've had to cancel a lot of things to be up here, but, and we have meetings, as you can see, during the day and different times in the evenings, and so you won't have a problem meeting any meetings.
No. As a matter of fact, my wife was concerned that I might throw myself a little too hard into this if selected, and wouldn't be able to give a proper amount of time to other organizations and projects going on.
Okay,
But no, that's not an issue.
okay.
You've answered a lot of my questions already, Jim. I've got one more. The goals that the commission has set have been streets, housing, and economic development. How can you enhance what we've already started?
As far as the streets are concerned, I would consider that actually more of a mechanical issue in terms of available funds. Granted, the price of oil and asphalt has a major impact, but streets are an issue. They just have to be prioritized. Location of those that are the worst, bring them back up to speed. Probably, just my initial thoughts, I would probably focus, although not residential, those main thoroughfares where people are coming into town, whether they're new people, tourists, or whatever, folks just passing through. First impressions are usually lasting. And someone coming into town, driving across a mile and a half of washboard just to get across town, you know, they might not want to come back. So there are issues there, and it's a matter of balance. You know, what are the needs of the city in terms of being able to present a good face to the public that's just passing through, or new potential residents. What are the needs of the existing residents? What are those streets? You know, there are some that are flood disasters down on Willow around 2nd Street. I mean, that's an issue down there whenever it rains. 4th Street, where it enters the highway out on 11, where 11th wraps around, hits the highway out there, that's pretty bad. So it's just a matter of prioritization. I don't really see that as a commission issue, other than asking and getting a project list from the city, from the staff, from the city manager, and determining just exactly what their priorities are, and are they in fact in concert with what the commission thinks those issues ought to be, what those priorities ought to be. Economic development, we have an opportunity to work closely with the chamber, with hopefully with the Montgomery County Action and with the MAC to bring new businesses into town. In terms of economic development, I would say that if we had a situation develop where a new business was considering coming to Coffeyville, all things being equal, I'm going to step out on a limb here, all things being equal, if all it would take would be some kind of a temporary tax abatement to get them to come to town, bring employees, bring more revenue, eventually more, bigger tax base, then I would not have a problem doing that, because that would eventually, takes a long view. I think, I don't know exactly what the city budget looks like right now, but I think in the short term, for the short view, I think we're probably all right. I would hope we would be able to take the long view in terms of economic development. I'll just share one short anecdotal story. When I was growing up, I heard this story probably at least once a month around the Sunday dinner table. My dad would tell the story. He said shortly after World War II, the Army Corps of Engineers came to Coffeyville and told the city fathers they could dredge the Verdigris River as far north as the dam. The then city fathers said, no thank you. And the reason for that was because they immediately perceived it as a threat to the monopolies that they had in their own respective businesses. The Army Corps of Engineers said, okay. They went back downstream to a sleepy little Oklahoma town and made the same offer there. And those folks said yes. And the port of Catoosa was born. And the rest, as I say, is history. I think Tulsa was about the size of Bartlesville then or less. But I would hope that we collectively here have the vision and the foresight never to let that happen again. Economic development is something that we all need to be involved in. The housing issue, the flood tore us up. I mean, there's no doubt about that. We do need housing. Having been a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission and also the chairman of the Zoning Appeals Board, I've seen a lot of that personally. And the long-range plan, of course, the map depicts the entire northwest quadrant of the city as the residential development area. But that does not mean that we don't have opportunities for a lot of development within the core city through existing tax structure, tax abatements. There's a home in my own neighborhood. No taxes for 5, half for the second half. So there's opportunities to reconstruct our neighborhoods with quality homes. And again, that would be a matter of ensuring from a strategic direction that the staff is working close with the housing department to make sure that the priorities are set correctly and it's done in an economical manner so that we don't actually lose money in the process.
That's all I've got. Have you got any questions for us?
None at this time.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll have some for you next week.
Okay, thank you. If you could go out and send in Marcus Kessler, please.
All right.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it. Hi, Marcus.
Hello.
The process we're going to use is if you would name an address and then give us a little bit of information on why you would want to be on the city commission. And then what we'll do is we'll ask you some questions. And then after that, we'll allow you to ask us some questions if you have any. Okay? Go ahead.
Marcus Kessler, 804 Kansas Street. I feel I'm a good match for this job. I feel I'm qualified. I've been on the Planning and Zoning Committee for about 6 months or so. I learned a lot of stuff in those times. I learned the ins and outs, but I've also got talked to by a lot of people who have a lot of questions, who have a lot of ideals, and I want those voices heard. I have a vision for Coffeyville. I want the name of Coffeyville to not have a negative connotation, like some people do have for Coffeyville. I think Coffeyville's a great city. I was born and raised here, and I will stay here because I love this town, and I believe in it. I put on events here. I helped in getting 400 people, 400 plus people to come to a wrestling event, and we raised over $2,000 that night. I want that type of success for Coffeyville. I believe fully that this town needs someone like me on the commission, someone young, someone who knows Coffeyville and has its best interest at heart. I come to all meetings, I keep up on stuff. I know what's going on, and I want what's best for Coffeyville, and I don't care if I'm the only person voting against something. That doesn't bother me. When the thing with the train yard happened, it was me and someone else voting against it. And a lot of people told me, oh, you should go and let it happen. But I chose to vote no because I didn't feel that the refinery was ready to be allowed to do that because of their behavior in the past. Many other times, when they wanted a gun store here, I said no because I didn't feel it was safe enough. I don't mind standing my own ground, even if it's my family, even if it's friends. I once again have Coffeyville's best interest at heart, and I want that to continue, and I want to work on this commission so I can further doing that.
First, last time.
You know, basically, our role as a commission is to set policy. We each come to the table up here with our own ideas of how things ought to be. We try to work together and come up with new ideas to see Coffeyville grow and become a better place, to increase the quality of life for our citizens. Are there any ideas that you have, you know, in seeing ways to do this?
I think we need some more entertainment here. I don't see why, if Coffeyville can run a golf course that isn't doing that well, why can't we run a youth activity center? I don't see why we cannot have, we have Frisbee golf here, but it's only 2 holes. I think Frisbee golf would be something that would be phenomenal to have here. It's an activity that's become popular, and I think it would bring people to Coffeyville, unlike I don't think the golf course has brought outside people, but people will come to Coffeyville to play a good Frisbee golf. I've talked to a lady who works with Downtown Chamber, who works downtown, who said that she would love to see and I'd love to see that Death Alley taken care of more and make it look nicer. So just, you know, I have a lot, and I could talk all night about different ideals and different visions. That's what working with people and coming up with ideals and making policy, I can do that too. I love to sit around tables and talk and go over stuff with people and try to better things.
Well, you know, this is very time-consuming, and in my world, I put this first above everything else I do. We have busy schedules sometimes. We have sometimes 2 or 3 meetings a week and 5 or 6 a month, you know, and it takes a lot of time. Do you have a problem with attending meetings and
No, I don't.
making this your life?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Well, my one question is just a general question. What in your personal experiences in your work life, this point in your life, do you think has prepared you to be a city commissioner?
I work with everyday people. I work with parents who are rich, who are poor, who are black, white, Hawaiian, any race you can name I work with. And I work with them. Some of them get angry at me, but I will sit down with them and talk to them. And I work with people and I hear their concerns. I've had people come up to me and say, "This needs fixed. This this is my gripe, this is my concern about Coffeyville. Why can't this be done? Is this rumor true? Is that rumor true? What do you think about this article in the paper that someone said? People ask me, I know people, and that's why I think you need this commission. It's not about what you know about business, it's what you know about the city and what you know about the heartbeat of Coffeyville.
Marcus, my question is, what do you think the role of a city commissioner is?
I believe the city commission isn't, they are ambassadors, they are to portray, to be above reproach. I think that they are to set policy and to listen and to learn more about the city and to help its citizens. It's not to be a dictator, it's not to be anything else. It's meant to help Coffeyville grow better, but also be a leader. In times when no one else wants to be a leader, no one wants to make the tough decisions we have to make, that you guys have to make, but we do anyway. You guys do anyway. I have to on my board. It's not easy telling people no, but sometimes it's in the best interest to tell them no, and I understand that, and I have no problem doing that.
That's it for me.
Would you like to ask us any questions?
What do you guys want to see in a city commissioner?
Anybody want to answer?
I think what I'm looking for in a city commissioner is somebody who brings some life experience to the table and a different perspective from what we already have. Because I think when we have 5 diverse people up here, that it helps us ultimately make better decisions as a group.
We're all up here with one purpose, and that's make the quality of life better for our citizens. And we each have different ideas. We try to pool them and see what's best, try to work together.
I have to agree with both of them. I think those are very important issues. Any other questions, Marcus? You got one? Any more for us? Okay. If you'll leave, and would you ask Walt Songer to come in, please? And thank you very much. How you doing, Walt?
All right, how are you?
Good. How we're going to handle this is, we're going to ask you, state your name, your address. We're going to really grill you. No. Then what we'll do is we'll let you give a statement, maybe what you wanted to see or do or anything else. And after that, the commissioners are going to ask you some questions. And then after that, we'll allow you to ask us any if you have any. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
My name is Walt Songer. I live at 1320 West 3rd here in Coffeyville. Some of the changes I like to see in Coffeyville is a few more street repairs, more things for the young people to do. We are losing our young people to bigger cities. And, you know, there's just, they got to have something to do for them to stay. The young people of this city is what's going to make this city grow. And they're leaving us. We need the young people to stay. You know, there's a lot of things that could be done for this city to bring new employment to this town and things like that. But, you know, without growth from the young people, there's nothing going to come here.
Your turn to go first.
My turn? What do you feel the role of the city commissioner is?
To oversee and help the city to make improvements and help the city control the maintenance of the city and things like that.
My other question is, we've set some goals as a commission. They happen to be streets, housing, and economic growth. How can we enhance what we've already started? Do you have any ideas to help us get to these goals?
The housing, you know, you go around Coffeyville, you go to certain parts of Coffeyville, you see that the housing are declining. And you go to certain parts of Coffeyville, you see new houses being built and stuff like that. We need to equal it out, you know, when your taxpayers improve their house, you know, like paint their house, siding their house, or roof their house, you know, just don't let them, you know, they need to do that, but they need to be rewarded and somehow by the city for keeping up their properties. You know, there's a lot of abandoned houses in this town that they shouldn't be abandoned. You know, they need to be taken care of, because our housing is down because of the flood and stuff like that. You got families living on top of families. And street repairs, you know, there's some real bad streets in this town, you know. We all have to work together as a city to let the commission and the mayor and the people of the city know what streets need to be repaired that are the worst. And economic growth, we got to keep the young people here for jobs to come here. You know, we just can't bring in fast food. We need good paying jobs for our young people to stay and want to stay in this town. Just not go to college and leave to go to a bigger college. We need them to come back to be leaders of the future.
Next.
Our role as commissioners is to set policy. And we each come up here with our own ideas of how things ought to be, but we have to work together to see things accomplished. We can't go out on our own and try to micromanage different departments, things like that. That's left up to the city manager. We can suggest things, but we can't, on our own, it doesn't work. We work together as a group.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that.
We also, to me, this is important, to be here whenever we have meetings called, and we have meetings called quite a bit during the month. And it's important. Do you have any problem with your own personal agenda conflicting with attending meetings or anything like that?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay.
I've worked in several dealerships throughout Coffeyville, and I work as the bus mechanic for the schools right now for USD 445. So there'd be no conflict at all.
Okay. Also, we want to see this city grow and our quality of life improve. You were talking about housing and people being responsible for their own property. We have what we call the zones, the
Rehabilitation zones.
rehabilitation zones, where if they add so much in improvement to their house, they can get, you know, tax breaks. What other ideas do you see to encourage people to take care of their own property, such as mowing and taking care of dilapidated housing? And
I think there for a while, I don't know if it's still going on, that the city would go around and they would give awards for the best looking properties in Coffeyville. Is that still going on?
no, Chamber used to do that. I don't know whether they,
Chamber, wasn't it? But they
Yeah.
did stop doing it, I believe.
You know?
we don't do that, but,
Well, you know, the chamber done it, you know, the chamber's still part of the city of
Right.
Coffeyville, you know, and they stopped, you know, people took pride in when they got that plaque and stuff like that. We need to start doing that again, letting people know that the city, you know, sees what they're doing to their house and stuff like that.
I'm intrigued by your comment about the young people leaving town. I was young once and I left and came back and left and came back again. what do you think, on one hand, Walt, what do you think it's going to take to keep them here? And on the other hand, what do you think's making them leave at this point?
Jobs. We have to have more employment for the young people. You know, the young people is going to run the city when we're all gone. You know, I'm an implant to the city. I've been in Coffeyville since 1982. I come from a bigger city. You know, and there's more opportunities in a bigger city than what there is in small towns like this. But, you know, we got to make it possible for the young people to see that we want growth here. We want them to stay. We want them to make their family and lives here.
Sounds good.
Any more? Okay, well, is there anything you would like to ask the commissioners?
All I got to ask is, you know, the decision that you guys make today for the commissioner, put it to real good thought, because we need to get this city to grow, and pick the best person for the position that you can.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you would send Charles Weed in, please,
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
Politics, they call that staying on message.
How are you, Charles? How we're going to handle this is name and address, and then we'll let you make a short statement. And then after you make your statement, we're going to ask you some questions. And after that, if you have any questions for the commissioners, we'll allow you to ask it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Charles Weed, I'm at 207 West New Street, Coffeyville. And reason, all of you know me, you know I've been involved in the background of the Coffeyvilles for several years. And I feel it's time to come forth and put a public face on the name. Also, I've got years of experience, not only as a Marine, but in various construction and maintenance fields, so I can understand what the internal workings of the city will be. You know, a lot of people talk about what they can do. I've been there.
Okay.
I have two basic questions for you. What do you feel is right about Coffeyville at this point in time, and what do you think is wrong?
Well, Coffeyville's run through some bad times. We've had some mismanagement. And I think what's going right now is we're getting all the naysayers hammered down so that the people of Coffeyville are starting to look for the good of the city instead of the bad. As far as the biggest problem with our city right now is we've got some infrastructure problems. We've had too many Band-Aid repairs, and they've caught up with us. It's going to take time and money and a lot of smart effort to rebuild this city and get it back to what it should be. Also, another thing that the city people have been working on is we've got a lot of blight houses. They're marginal to substandard to just about falling down, and they're getting rid of them, but there's a bunch of them out there still that we need either get the owners to spend the dime to build them back up, make them look like places people would feel fit to live in, or go ahead and get them demolished so this city will have open places for new houses.
You know, the role of the commissioner is to set policy. That's basically what we do.
Set, you know,
And we each come to the table with our own ideas of what is best to improve the quality of life for our citizens. What ideas do you have?
One thing we need to do here is, we're spending money in a couple of areas. You know, we got these big, high-dollar, out-of-state people saying, yeah, you give us all this money and we'll get you businesses. But I haven't seen any businesses, and they've been at it how long now? A year and a half? You know, we need to revisit that and see if they're actually working to improve us, you know, bringing businesses into Coffeyville, or if they're just blowing our money into their back pocket so they can make a profit.
Anything else?
We can look to work with our local businesses. We've got a lot of little businesses, but they're all pulling the string their own way. We need to work with the city and see if we can get those businesses working as a group, and, you know, instead of a bunch of individuals, see if we can't get them together and work with some of our closed buildings so that we can reopen them in a new venue. You know, if we can bring people into the city instead of having them, you know, hit the intersection at 11th Street and go east or west, have them come into the city, they'll bring their money with them. As it is now, they're on 166, they're on 169, but we really don't have a hook, something to get those people's attention and bring them into the city. Now, moving the farmer's market out to the fairgrounds, that's a hook. If we can, you know, get some other things going in that venue, you know, that's a small effort for us that can stand to bring big dividends, because it's showing that it's a community that cares, not a community involved in politics.
Charles, we've set some goals here as a commission, and they have to be streets, housing, and economic development. What do you think we can do to help enhance that?
Well, the streets we're working on. We've got that extra tax that was voted in not long ago, and that's starting to show dividends to us. We're getting some of our worst intersections taken care of. Housing, that's being worked on. If we can shake a little extra money and get that process sped up a little, that would help. And I was noticing the last commission meeting, we had a lot of properties that were brought into the city, or in the process of. Can they be reused? Is there something we can do with those properties that will make them of a use to us? Also, we've got a number of properties within the city that are vacant. Can something be done with them, either individually or as a group? You know, get an investor in here building houses. Give him a decent block to work with. If he can put in a couple of houses each on 2 or 3 blocks, that's new construction. And that's something we're really shy on. What little construction we're getting within the city limits now is either commercial or it's these modular housing. And neither one of them improves the public view of the city itself. I mean, there's only so many facades you can put on a double wide. And as far as the businesses, like I say, we need to revisit what we're doing with our money and see if we can't bring these businesses to us.
You know, hypothetically, if we had a business or an industry that wanted to come to Coffeyville, and Would you be in favor of tax abatement or giving them land or anything like that as an inducement?
If it's a business that's going to be bringing money into Coffeyville, and I don't mean a few dollars here, a few dollars there, but I mean a steady income, something that's going to be bringing permanent jobs into the city, permanent residences into the city. That's a case where abatements and such as that would be practical. But if they're going to be something like is going on with the nitrogen plant now, in effect, they're going to bring in maybe 3 jobs, and they're taking out how many homes to get that done? You know, we need to look at the balance. You know, a city without people is not a city, it's an industrial park. And we need to make that a point to these businesses that are coming in, and not let them come in and throw a whole bunch of bull on us on the first showing. And then when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of the project, everything they throw at us is a lie. You know, we need to watch out for this. And we need to, you know, make sure all the truth is drug out before the naysayers get a hold of it. Otherwise, they'll just, you know, snowball us with BS.
Anybody else got a question? Do you want to ask us any questions, Charlie?
No, I think I pretty much know the operations of the city.
Okay. If you would tell everybody out there that they can come back in.
Thank you, Charlie.
What do you think? You want to sit here?
Can't. Next meeting, regular meeting.
Gotta get them in a bunch, because they're cut out like quail. Harder to hit.
I would like to personally thank each one of you who has applied and taken out of your day to come here and give your, speak to us. I know it's hard because I was in that seat at one time, and it's very nerve-wracking to have to speak in public and be on the television. So I'd like to thank each one of you. We really appreciate it, and this is not an easy decision for us because we think that there's a lot of qualified people. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion if anybody wants to do it that way, or?
I think each one of them brings something to the table. I do have to say that one person in particular, I'm impressed with his resume and his involvement in the community for the past number of years, and I'd like to move to appoint Jim Faulkner to fill the vacant commission seat serving to April 14th, 2015.
I'll second it.
The motion was made by Commissioner Edwards and seconded by Mayor George,
Thank
To-
you.
to appoint Jim Faulkner to fill the vacant commission seat serving to April 14, 2015. Mayor George,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
I would like to add that the next city commission election is going to be in April of this coming year. And while I haven't decided if I want to run for reelection or not, any of the 3 people who didn't get chosen tonight, if they are in the least bit interested in running and they need any help at all, I would be more than willing to help any of the 3 of them or all 3 of them, because I think each one of them said something that really kind of struck a chord with me, and I feel like that they do have the best interest of the city at heart. So you got plenty of time to think about it between now and the time filing starts in January, but if it's something that you feel like you're even the least bit interested in, I would be more than willing to talk with each one of you individually.
I too have sat out there before, after I ran the first time and I won the next 2 elections, so y'all don't give up. If you really want this, you will stay with it and you'll get it. Just hang in there, and, because you all have wonderful ideas on how things should be, and we appreciate everybody taking the time to fill out the applications and to come up here and go through this process, so thank y'all.
Jim, from what I understand, the swearing in will be at the next commission meeting, am I correct?
I can do it tonight if he wants. I can do it Tuesday night. It's whatever, however you want to do it.
Your pleasure.
You want your wife here when you're sworn in?
She's probably watching.
Okay. Well, this is what I would like to see, and if you guys are in agreement. I would like to see this sworn in almost immediately, because I feel that this budget process is very important, and I would like him on board as soon as we go in. We're going to start work sessions next week. I'd like you to be on board,
Well, I see no need to delay that.
okay?
Okay?
Because
If you're ready. Stand up here and you're gonna raise your right hand. I, Jim Faulkner,
Jim Faulkner,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution
to uphold the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Kansas,
of the State of Kansas,
and uphold the duties
and uphold the duties
of the City of Coffeyville.
of the City of Coffeyville.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
congratulations, sir. Welcome aboard.
Mayor?
Welcome.
I move to adjourn.
Second. Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
watch your fingers.